There is a moment in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone that I keep coming back to as one of my favorite moments in the entire book. It's a really strange moment to kind of have as your favorite, but it is the moment that Harry tells Draco his parents are dead. I know. It's a bit of a ridiculous thing to actually have as your favorite. I know it's legitimately one of the weirdest moments to actually love, but the way that Harry says this is so honest and refreshing, and it has a lot to say about how we dispense truth. And it has shades of Luna Lovegood to it too, which is why I think so many people love her as a character, because she is blunt and knows how to cut through the crap. And this is going to be, I thought this was going to be a short essay. It's not going to be that short of an essay, but I just want to talk about this and why I love this moment and why I think it's weirdly refreshing. It's a moment that comes as Harry is being fitted for his robes in his first ever trip to Diagon Alley in Madame Malkin's. He's standing next to Draco Malfoy in their first ever meeting, and Harry is just getting bad vibes from him. He's getting Dudley vibes the entire time. And then Hagrid shows up, and this is what the text says. "I say, look at that man," said the boy, suddenly, nodding toward the front window. Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Harry, and pointing at two large ice creams to show he couldn't come in. "That's Hagrid," said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. "He works at Hogwarts." "Oh," said the boy. "I've heard of him. He's a sort of servant, isn't he?" "He's the gamekeeper," said Harry. He was liking the boy less and less every second. "Yes, exactly. I heard he's a sort of savage. Lives in a hut in the school grounds, and every now and again he gets drunk and tries to do magic and ends up setting fire to his bed." "I think he's brilliant," said Harry coldly. "Do you?" said the boy with a slight sneer. "Why is he with you? Where are your parents?" "They're dead," said Harry shortly. He didn't feel much like going into the matter with the boy. "Oh, sorry," said the other, not sounding sorry at all. I love when Harry says this boldly here, that his parents are dead. Now, there is something I think in a child's ability to do that I love so much. And in the adult life, I think we've learned in language how we can walk on eggshells around a person and not really say what exactly we are trying to say. We create euphemisms for everything. And while I actually think euphemisms are a good thing, and I think they're kind of helpful, actually, I don't really know how helpful they are, to be honest, but this is what this essay is going to kind of be about. Perhaps there's like a time and a place for euphemisms, for how helpful they actually are to another person, but I think they can be good, because sometimes a person does maybe need to hear bluntly about something that has happened to them, and maybe they just need to be less blunt about a person. But maybe this is just me. I just love the bluntness in a person. And Harry standing there not trying to mix words with Draco and just saying his parents are dead rather than coming up with kind of like a nicer way to put it and just to make the whole situation more comfortable is really why I love Harry in the first place. He's not afraid of these confrontations or these situations. And this is, again, I think why in book 5 Harry develops such a strong relationship with Luna. Because in the book, everyone is walking on eggshells around Harry. They are terrified of everything that he might say. They're nervous of him. They're hoping that he won't just snap at something that they say. And everyone hates Harry who reads the book in book 5 because he's just moody all the time. But I think he's not. I think Luna is just able to find deep friendship with him because she walks up to him and treats him with bluntness, which is kind of what Harry needs at that moment. She doesn't shy away from other things that people are shying away from. But here's the issue, I think. Some people can do this and others can't. And I think that's kind of my thesis for this whole entire essay. I just think it depends on the person and the situation. Because there are some people in my life who I really love being blunt with, and they are really great being blunt with me. And there are some who are blunt in a really unpleasant way. And this whole idea has me thinking of if truth should ever be pasteurized or not. Harry's parents are dead. That's the truth. Should he ever tone down his language in order to better help other people understand and process this fact? Or does the bluntness actually help people understand this more than if they had this in a euphemism? I think there's a precedent for both. And I would actually love your input on this because a lot of my thoughts are kind of incomplete on this. So let me know in the comments below how you should decipher which to use at which moment, whether you even like euphemism or whether you think everything should be blunt. I'm thinking of two different pieces of art when I think about this too, and how they're both saying different things in them. And the first, I'm thinking of the movie Captain Fantastic, which is one of my favorites. And there's a conversation that happens in this film that is pretty wild with Viggo Mortensen's character, Ben. And just to give a little background on this movie, it's about a family who lives in the wilderness and just reads and studies and trains. And it's how they are so much smarter than everyone else in the entire world, especially their own family. But the family is in a bus heading to pick up their mother's dead body, which is, again, it's a strange film, but it's so good. And Viggo, in the character of Ben, asks one of his daughters what she is reading. And she's reading Lolita. But let me read you the manuscript. This might also get demonetized because this is a really, really blunt conversation, so I hope it doesn't. Or it might get taken down from YouTube. I don't really know the whole YouTube stuff about this, like whether they censor out words like this. I don't know. We'll see. We'll give it a shot and see how it goes. What are you reading? Lolita. I didn't assign that. I'm skipping ahead. And it's interesting. Interesting, a legal word. Kira said, interesting. Interesting is a non-word. You know you're supposed to avoid it. Be specific, Kira. It's disturbing. More specific. Because it's written from his perspective. You sort of understand and sympathize with him. Which is kind of amazing because he's essentially a child molester. But his love for her, it's beautiful. But it's also sort of a trick because it's so wrong. He's old and he basically rapes her. So it makes me feel I hate him. And somehow I feel sorry for him at the same time. Now, the conversation gets interesting here because his youngest daughter, this isn't even the blunt part, his youngest daughter, who is listening in on this conversation, asks a very blunt question. She says, what is rape? And this is where Ben is blunt. And it's something parents everywhere would probably have a huge problem with. But I have to kind of think through this, and I think, is this really beneficial for a kid or not? That's just my basic question. I don't know the answer for that. But this is what the conversation has. When a person, usually a man, forces another person, usually a woman, to have sexual intercourse. Who's hungry? Now his youngest daughter goes on and says, what's sexual intercourse? When a man sticks his penis in a woman's vagina. Everyone keep their eyes peeled for deer. Why would a man stick his penis in a woman's vagina? Because it can give them both pleasure. And because the combination of a man's sperm and a woman's egg can create a baby and continue the human race. But that's where she pees. Pee comes not from the vagina, but from the urethra. But generally speaking, yes, that is where she pees. Now, this is a wild conversation, but I don't know of any adults who would ever have the conversation like this with their kids. But there's something oddly refreshing about it. I have to be completely blunt about this because it's the truth told bluntly. But I think Emily Dickinson would disagree with this idea because she believed the truth should be told in slants and the truth should be told in roundabout ways. Tell the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies. Too bright for our infirm delight. The truth's superb surprise. As lightning to the children, ease with explanation kind. The truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind. And I think one of the major themes of this poem, if not the only theme of this poem, is the idea that truth must be told gently and explained easily. Otherwise, the truth will dazzle too quickly like lightning, and it'll leave people blind to it. So I am sitting here with this conversation that Harry has with Draco, thinking about what is better, to tell all the truth but to tell it slant, or to tell the truth bluntly, because it is the truth. And that's what people deserve. And I think it's a boring answer, and I'm sorry for giving this boring answer, but it really just depends on the person. And I wish more people had like I wish I had more people like Harry Potter in my life who told things bluntly as they were. But not everyone can do that, even in my own life. And I think of some of the ways that a child's mind can even handle these things better than an adult's mind. I think of times in my own life, like the time that I was reading Charlotte's Web to my niece. And it was the chapter where Wilbur is having an existential crisis about his own death. One of the best chapters that I've ever read just in all of literature. And the things that he was saying were shocking to me. And I was like horrified by them. But my niece was laughing the entire chapter. And it's like she could handle that in a much better way than I could. And so I think sometimes that children's literature and children even are just more primed for this than adults are. That there's something wired into children that they know and understand the tone and mood of a room. And even going a step further, I think that kids with maybe even like Down syndrome have an extra capacity to do this and something extra that's wired into them where they are able to even do this to a better degree. Now, I had melanoma when I was in my mid-20s, and I had a lot of people tiptoeing around me with everything, not really giving me, clear guidance or even saying things clear. And honestly, the cancer sucked, but that even sucked more. But there were a few people who just knew how to be blunt and care for me. And I remember one person with Down syndrome who came up to me in the middle of this room, and we were just kind of like hanging out in the middle of this room, and they just came up and said, "Hey, I heard you have cancer. That sucks." And they walked away. And it was honestly the most understood and comforting moment in my entire time of going through that. And this was to say, I think that Harry has that here. He has this moment where he just knows how to navigate the situation. And it's why I think it's why he shared a really special connection with Luna later on. And I think it's a really interesting idea for why children are able to do this so much better than adults. And all I wanted to do in this video was share this beautiful moment with you of one of my favorite children's books of all time, which is Harry Potter, and why I love this moment so much and how much I think it just makes me think about bluntness versus disguised truth. But anyway, make sure you like the video if you made it this far, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.